Kind of About Music podcast.
Hi and welcome to the Kind of About Music podcast. This is episode 25 with George Marius of the band Kody. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, subscribe, download, all of that good stuff. Leave a review. You can find us on Facebook at Coam Podcast and Twitter is the same, Coam Podcast. We are available now on iTunes, YouTube, Facebook, Stitcher. We're going to be on Google Play soon, so you can have it as audio for if you're driving or something like that, or at the gym. We'll also do the video one that you can see on YouTube. In this episode, I have to admit I did mess up we were rushing a little bit at the start and the mic is placed right in front of George's fretboard. My bad. I shall endeavour not to do that in future. So anyway, if you want to find any more information about this podcast or any others, you can go to my website, which is jimguitarman.com, and all the links for George's websites and social media are all in the description of this podcast. So there you have it, George Marius. George, Kody, Marius, how you doing, man?
Yeah,
Welcome
good,
to
man.
the podcast. What was the 80s theme tune going on at the end there?
I don't know, man. I think it was Ghostbusters, right? It's really funny because
It's definitely Star Wars.
Definitely Star Wars. I still can't believe I had to think about that.
Yeah, we should have done this on May the 4th.
yeah.
Well, you've just dated your content. It could have been May 4th.
No, because May the 4th's already gone, and it'll be dated anyway,
We'll
Dom.
have to wait for next year, and we'll all be far
we'll release it.
better looking next year.
Let's
so.
piss off all the Star Wars geeks and say, May the
There was
9th
something
be with
about-
you? I don't know.
I think it's the 10th.
There's something about 5th of the Sith as well, I saw.
5th of the Sith. There we go. So George Kody Marius is our guest today on the podcast. Sorry, I always have to say this because it freaks me out because I can't see it. Is the camera flashing a red light at you?
Yeah.
That means we're all good.
Cheers.
We're all good.
Cheers.
George Kody Marius is a guitar player. Is it Lick Library that we're involved with?
Yeah, I've done a bunch of DVDs for Lick Library. The latest one being the Extreme one. You know the band Extreme, Nuno
Okay,
Bettencourt.
yeah.
I've done a bunch of stuff with them and just obviously got my own teaching sort of thing.
Fantastic.
And some more stuff coming out soon as well. So yeah, fairly
Fantastic.
based around tuitional stuff.
Okay, and over here I've got Tim Loudon stepping in for Tim Jacobs on bass.
Boom.
Sorry, Tim.
And Mr. Dom Anthony over here on the drum kit, because we've got proper drum kit because we thought it'd be a bit more rocky in this one. Dude, scary keeping up with you, man, on the guitar. Like the fast stuff, and there's just craziness going on. In fact, I had to not a diss or a slight or anything, but I just had to turn it down a little bit in my ears because it's just too crazy for me, man. Just so much going on. I was like, wow.
Even my partner, I've played a gig and she's like, you're totally overplaying, but
Oh no!
know,
In this situation, it definitely called for.
nobody ever
Taste
thinks
is
you're
relative,
overplaying.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Taste is relative.
Well, this is see the thing is you've got such crazy ability and technique and speed and accuracy that is something that when I was younger I always tried to develop, and I never
Mm-hmm.
fully got there, and I think I could have really done with some kind of real tuition on technique to get to that point, and I didn't get to the point. I mean, I can blast around a little bit and stuff,
you're
but
a very
nothing
versatile player.
but nothing like this crazy extreme alternate picking that you can do. And it's so clear and it's so kind of what's the word if somebody's it's not,
Unknowing.
no, it's not.
Precise.
It's so precise. Yeah, what's the word? Articulate. Yeah, that's the word.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. So, so what are you doing at the moment? You got the Kody thing. What's Kody? Tell us more
Yeah,
about it.
well, it's just. I mean, I've been playing it in bands for for a good while before I came to London. I used to be in a few original bands, and I think I just find it sort of quite hard having to be part of. I know it sounds completely egotistical, but I think when I write a song or I produce a track, I have a very particular vision of how I want it to be.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And obviously, the current situation is that I'll write tracks, I'll produce them, and then I have to give him a shout out. I've got an incredible collaborator on the drums, Francesco Zaridi. He's an incredible drummer. So I'll give him the tracks, and I'll be like, okay, I've got a rough idea of what goes on, but I want you to do your thing, bring it on the table, and then we'll decompose this together, sort of thing. But yeah, I think it all stemmed from my desire to just do something that I have the complete creative control over.
Yeah.
And that has its pros and cons, of course, but so it's
It can be a lonely process. If the trouble with it is, it can be a lonely process, and I find it can be hard to motivate yourself to actually get around to finishing the things to do like that when it's on your own.
Yeah, I mean, it can take a bit longer, but it also can be quicker. I mean, if you have to think,
That's
if
true,
you got a 6-piece original band where everybody's sort of fairly contributing to it, then it means that you have to get 6 heads on board. Whereas now I just have to get. Well, it's just convinced me that it's
Exactly.
It's
the 6 voices in my head.
Yeah,
That's not to corral them.
exactly. So in that sense, obviously, but I don't feel lonely because I think I've got a good team of people around me that believe in what I do.
You like the executive. Definitely, there's a kind of hierarchical thing to it, right? It's like it starts and ends with you. It's your say, rather than it being an equal thing, which I think is good for creative stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think it works only as long as the lines are very clear. Because if you start as a band and then naturally there's people like in Metallica. I mean, it's kind of like even now to this day, I know like Kirk Hammett has very little.
He didn't even play on the album except his solos, did he? I think that's all he did.
And
on
I
the
wish
newest
someone
album.
else had played those as well. It's just like,
that crazy vibrato. I mean, my technique's nothing to necessarily write home about, but the crazy vibrato that
the vibrato is good, man.
It's like never quite in tune. Like, oh, dude, man, you've been playing these songs for like 30 years or something. Like, get on board with it.
Consistent, though. He's consistent.
Exactly. So, I mean, even in their scenario, it is kind of a band, but they've got like two sort of main figureheads. So
yeah, and I think that definitely, if you listen, like, I was going about Metallica every so often, but if you listen to their stuff, the stuff where James and Lars have just gone into a cave and done it on their own is definitely, I think, the better stuff. It's focused on.
Have you seen the documentary?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's quality.
I haven't even watched all of it. I've seen
that's only the most recent documentary. The best documentary for Metallica is it a year and a half
some
in the
kind
life?
of monster, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the newest one, but nobody knows. Everyone forgets about the one that came out at the time of the Black Album, which was a year and a half in the life of Metallica or something like that. And I think it's part 1 and part 2. That's awesome, that, because like there's a bit where they're recording Nothing Else Matters, and Bob Rock, isn't it, producing it, and he's saying to it, I want you to play it again, and he goes, fuck you, you play it again. And so he's got his mullet and he's just big ginger guy with a beard.
I think that's about the time where his voice was gone in it, and then he had to like go to rehab for vocal rehab or something. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Well, they tried to get him to. No, it was going to be a really shit Amy Winehouse joke.
Well, she should have gone to rehab, let's say that, but unfortunately, anyway.
Well, apparently, the story with her is, and I haven't seen the film, that she did go, and then she was trying to just not do any, basically stay out of touring and stuff, because she was like, that's the thing that is it going to get me into doing what I don't want to do again.
I think there's a lot of sharks in this business, man. I think like even if she wanted, I think she should have just been like abducted and kept in a because there's a lot, people made money of her, more money than she made probably.
But it's the same with all of these people, isn't it? Michael Jackson, similar. Elvis Presley was the same thing. All these kind of massive stars, they have these kind of sycophants and kind of leeches that are just parasites. Sure. They kind of take control of the entity, sort of thing.
I think when you enter certainly the sort of pop star realm, I think like there's genres of music where, that might happen, but I can't imagine, for example, a band like Dream Theater where they just grew so organically. They really pretty much started out by having, the Paul Meander was their first single, was like an 8-minute long song that was in the billboards, but so they didn't necessarily have to maybe attach themselves to those kind of people, but they just found an audience. So I think in those you might be able to stay sane on those kind of sort of unconventional music circles. But I think if you're gonna go to that level where you're like an icon, I think it would take a toll on you. And some people just don't make it.
I did when I was younger. I did some guitar teching for Michael Schenker. I only did one gig, but his band turned up, and they were like the band that he'd used in the 80s. And they were all these kind of, they were nice guys, but they were like, the years had taken and not been necessarily that kind. And one of the guys, the bass player, I think he was quite a large gentleman. I can't remember his name, which is probably a good thing. But he used to talk about, in the 80s we could do anything, and obviously they'd done all the rock and roll lifestyle. But I think he was a Scottish guy, and this sounds totally stereotypical and made up, but he literally was talking about flying flight cases of Iron Brew around the country, around the world.
No, that's pretty realistic. That's right. You can't get anywhere else, man.
On the private jets, like I could have room for my
that's
Iron
like
Brew flight case.
I went to Scotland for the first time, and I tasted that thing, and I just couldn't believe it.
It's crazy,
I think Coca-Cola is bad enough, but this is just terrible.
Do you know what the first soft drink was? I heard it on a podcast the other
First
day.
ever soft drink?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Really?
Should we try a guess?
Mountain Dew?
No.
It's not going to be Red Bull.
I don't know,
They used to have like soda bars back in the day in America. But I don't
it was they were for girls, weren't they? I only know this because I've been listening to stuff with sugar. No, that's literally like that's how it started.
No, but
I think this was on the Joe Rogan podcast. It was like a thing where they said alcohol and cigarettes is for men. This is how they marketed it originally, and sugar and soda is for the women, and that's why they had the soda bars.
I saw that on the Instagram. On his Instagram, he had a poster on his Instagram with that kind of commercial.
Talking about it with a guy called Sean Torbs or something. Anyway, the first soda was Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper was the first soda. Didn't know.
We don't see, because I'm from Greece. For all of you who don't know that, we don't have like those stuff. Don't sell that much like fizzy drinks because it's just. like I'm from a small place, but we just grow up to natural, good tasting stuff. So you wouldn't like. I go to a lot of restaurants here, and I'm like, dude, if you were back home, you'd be running out of business because people are like, I didn't know those things existed. I mean, Coca-Cola got Fanta you got that here. That's about it, I think. Yeah,
I did some gigs for Iron Brew once.
Did you?
Or it was like the company that looked after Iron Brew, and apparently. Someone will probably have to like look this up and prove me wrong, but they have 2 people that know the secret recipe for Iron Brew, and they're not allowed to fly on the same flight, kind of thing. They kept sitting unless the plane crashes, and then it's gone. I heard some trivia like that. We'll have to look it up.
Yeah, well, there you go. That could be a tragedy. That's well, the thing with these guys who was doing this, it was saying like in the 80s you could literally do anything you want. That's how ridiculous it was. They had so much money and so much time and all this thing they could party in, and this guy literally could just take the piss and fly crates of Iron Brew around, or flight cases of Iron Brew around the world. But then obviously you fast forward to now, just going back to the thing about kind of these people in this situation. I think the 80s was a totally, even for, I suppose they were rock stars and stuff like that, but.
I think there was that, that gap of like where it was like 87 till 91 where all the like glam rock bands came out, and some amazing bands came out. I mean, like Stream was like a fucking incredible band. So they're like Chili Peppers, but like on steroids. I mean, they're incredible. But even bands like Rat and Dokken and stuff. I mean, Dokken are a bit older, but you had all those like very feminine guys, like like the good guitar parts and everything, but singing about like sex and all that. And it was that 4 year where all those bands kind of like the glam rock thing took off, and then
you had the Nirvana
grunge
thing,
came. And then those people, I mean, there was a band called White Lion, and they're incredible band.
Such a good band name, White Lion.
But like, it is seriously like Vito Bratta, the guitar player, is amazing. But like, the guy went into complete depression because they had those 4 years of complete like boom. They were playing in front of 15, 20,000
and then
people.
just somebody takes it away from
It's like I think it's the thing that it was a trend. Like, let's face it. I mean, there can be a new trend, but Dream Theater will, for example, and I keep using them as an example. They'll Rush. They'll still be able to play in 20, 30,000 people because it's genuine fans.
And Steve Vai's a good example of that as well, because Steve Vai, he said in an interview, I think it was, he said the first thing he did when he got first royalty check is he built his own studio, and it's like, no one can take this away from me now. I've got this. And then obviously Frank Zappa, who was playing guitar for, said make sure you've got all your publishing. So he very early on made sure he covered all of his publishing. And then it's a kind of a cottage industry, but he's got that very niche audience who'll always go and see him.
Yeah, and it's quite a broad, I mean, niche, but still, he'll play 6, 7, 8, 9,000 people. Or the Generation X tour where he's like with Nuno Bettencourt, Ingve, and Tosin Abassi from Animals as leaders, which is kind of
I love Animals.
And they're playing 15, 20,000 people because in the end, people.
Dude, Steve Vai's going to be like a multimillionaire as well, for sure. All of the stuff that's going on, all the different kind of, and I think he's got a great model where I'm sure what he was doing was like a 2-year cycle, and I do like people who do this, a 2-year cycle where they seem to have their own independent record label maybe, or something like that, and they go, I'm going to write for 6 months, I'm going to then go out and tour it for, I don't know, 10 months, and then I'm going to have 6 months off, and I'm going to write, and that's the cycle that they do. Like, I'm sure Josh Homme is the same with all the projects that he does. He's the one that I really think has got an amazing kind of career, like the perfect career. For he did that, they'll do a Queens of the Stone Age album, then he'll do Eagles of Death Metal album, and then they'll do...
is that the same guy?
Josh Homme plays drums on that and sings on it, right? Yeah. And then also they did the last
as well.
Sorry,
is it Crooked Vultures?
The Vultures,
Crooked Vultures, and then they did the Queens of Stone Age. Basically, did the album for Iggy Pop, the latest one, which is pretty cool.
Awesome,
nice.
So it's just like a cycle, and then it's just hanging out with the mates, just recording, probably in some fucking middle of the desert or something.
Palace.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this, yeah.
And then it's like I think that's a beautiful system, and you don't have to chase that kind of rock and roll craziness that.
Yeah,
I thought that's what
it's
music was.
Unsustainable, is it? Like, you can't just go off of the... I mean, one of those guys that was a model for like healthy, and I know that because I know the person that worked with him closely in management. It was Ronnie James Dio. I mean, he never smoked, never drank. Miles Kennedy from Alderbridge as well, very healthy, because the point is that the love for it goes beyond getting laid or just doing drugs for the sake of it or whatever. Nothing wrong with getting laid.
I thought when I was younger, I thought being in a metal band was the way to do that. Turns out that's not the case.
I've been there. No.
It's like,
you took
from
the
a really
wrong
heavy
turn.
metal band. That'd be. No, yeah.
Although in Greece, metal bands, the guys, I mean, I don't know because I left very early on, but metal is a big thing. There's a lot of girls in metal gigs in Greece.
Yeah.
Not over here.
No. No.
No.
No, they're
It's a different world out there on the continent.
Yeah. Or you need an Ed Sheeran type guitar and a soppy song.
And lead pedal.
That's how you get it.
Yeah, definitely.
So when did... Right, I'm trying to remember back to when Jamie was first... Our mutual friend Jamie Wellstead was first telling me about
Great
you.
drummer as
and
well.
you were at Leeds University with him.
Yeah, when Leeds College of Music. So I had a cultural shock, obviously, because I left Greece.
Which you were at as well, weren't you, Tim? Yeah,
Yeah, you were.
where we know
were
each
you
other.
2 years above or something?
I have absolutely no idea.
We had a little technical difficulty there where
Go on.
the Behringer device it just went a little bit crazy.
Not
for
a good
second.
advertisement for Behringer, this.
Well,
Screw
the
you for
system's
making-
great, and for the price of what it is, it's like 400 quid for this mixer. You get the iPad thing, and you can send 18 channels into your iMac.
Oh, that's good.
We're just using a program called Tracks, which is like free thing from Waves.
I like Waves. Waves is good.
It's a free program. It's great because it's really stable, but I think something happened with the USB there where it just maybe had a little bit of a freak out.
Yeah,
but no, I really like it. I think it's great. I've got the iPad here so we can mix and do all the auxiliaries and it's fantastic.
man.
Anyway, so we had a little technical difficulty. I was asking George, Leeds College of Music went to there with Jamie Wellstead, and you not in the same year as Tim.
Yeah, I was trying to remember when I went. It was like I graduated in like 2009, so
Okay.
it was probably a
So
little
you
bit.
just a year wiser than me. Yeah, there you go.
It's very kind of you.
Yeah, but that was weird, man, because like I went to Leeds College of Music when I was 17 to start the BA course, and I was police.
There we go.
The
It's
police.
not a soundproof room.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Is that you didn't even come to the Dishoom last night, did you? Can't blame it on Dishoom.
No, but I am Indian, so...
There we go.
Oh man, I'm Greek. We'll be the magic duo. Anyways, but yeah, it's like because I started playing about 16. Then at 17, I went to school early. So not because I'm super clever or something. Just my parents worked, so they sent me to school a year earlier.
Yeah.
So when I went to Leeds, I literally just went from my little town in Greece to go to this place, and I remember like I lived near Hare Hills or something, which wasn't.
Oh, mate.
It was bad. And I remember my first night out, like within the first 5 days I was there, it was at Oceana. And I remember going past, there was a group of, it was like a Hindu or something. I didn't know even what the fuck that was. It's basically a lot of girls with dicks on their heads, you know. Like
I still don't understand that.
That's such a concise explanation.
shaky dicks.
No,
basically.
do you know
dicks on
what?
their
A female,
foreheads.
just to pause on that for a moment for a thought, because I think it's important. A fucking Hindu, the thing that when you see him out in a group, it's just so, like, there's a lot of crazy and stupid shit that guys do, but that should almost be made illegal, them Hindus. It's just
Hindus, it's very
brainless.
distasteful. It's a bit like, it's too,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just so, it's so gross. Like, that's the word for it,
So we're
gross.
saying that Hindus are gross, but going to a strip club is absolutely fine.
Well, I think you can be discreet when you go to a strip club. Why are you
No,
bring
I
strip
think
clubs into this? Where'd that come from?
girls should go to strip clubs. I think that'd be great. But
What? So girls watching girls strip?
no. Like,
Does
you know,
happen.
for girls, the strip. Surely there's.
Oh, male strip clubs.
Male
Yeah,
strip
yeah,
clubs.
yeah. Is there such a thing?
There
If
probably
not,
is,
we
but
should-
girls
we
like
should,
girls are like probably like, oh no, I wouldn't go. Imagine.
Nah, I'm sure that there
That was my
is.
girl
There are
voice.
some girls that would go.
Because if there isn't, we should start like a business. We've just
I
discovered.
mean, I don't mind taking
Are
my
you
kit
are
off
you
the
kind
money.
of wanting to be a model in this? Just George naked, oiled
No.
up, playing some fast licks. Yeah. George comes out of his solo every half hour.
I'd be there every night. I would be there every night.
George comes for
definitely.
real. No,
He's
nobody
got
would
a
see that. Hey, there you
he's
go.
got a thong on, but it's like instead of being like an elephant's trunk, it's just a guitar fretboard
Oh, no.
or a microphone.
Nobody would want to watch that, man. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
So, Leeds, yeah.
Yeah,
but I have to say, I loved it. I mean,
Hindu,
it's-
sorry, I
it's,
took it out.
people are so. I mean, obviously, you have an impression when you first go, but then you get it. You know, you immerse yourself in the culture and stuff. And I love Yorkshire. I mean, I've traveled like. I've seen Doncaster, Wigan. I've been to Sheffield.
Doncaster. Don't talk about Doncaster, man. For God's sake, like, don't list that as a place.
It's
like,
not
don't
like
judge the
it's
rest
not,
of us.
you know. You just get, but you gotta go and get the feel for like the. I love it. People are great, and I've had good food as well up north. I have to say, yeah.
You'll have to tell me where, because I would live there for 28 years, and I'm not sure I had.
Yeah, there's like 8 Gregs on every single corner in Leeds.
Yeah.
So
Oh, it's changed a lot. Taking out the camera there.
Yeah. So talking about the food in Greg's, Jamie Oliver set up a ministry of food in Rotherham because when he did the thing about school dinners, Rotherham was a place where they had at dinner time, the mums were pissed off because they changed the thing and they said you can't have chips at dinner. So the mums were like passing cartons of chips through the fence.
that was Rotherham.
That was Rotherham, really near where I grew up as well. So Jamie Oliver thought, I'm not having this, and turned up and opened a ministry of food. And of course, all the Rotherham local kind of clientele, you know, you may have seen him in such productions as League of Gentlemen and stuff like that. Stood there in kind of, what's the bench? What's the hats? Burberry hats.
Burberry.
Tracky bottoms, socks tucked in, Reebok Classics, hands down the trousers. They'd all been to Greg's, which was just across the road. And when Jamie Oliver turned up, they were all there in force shouting,
Wow.
"Where the fuck is Gordon Ramsay?" or something like that. That was it. That was a welcome to Rotherham. So there you go.
That's the north.
I've been to Rotherham. This is all right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
It's home, innit?
Yeah.
For you, not me.
The question is, what would you say this if we were going over to Greece and we were like, yeah, it's really nice? Would you be saying the opposite because you really know
on
the
the Greek
place?
economy? We'll get to that in a second, right?
So, I wasn't anything to do with economics.
No, like I when I left my Greece, I hated it because there was just no room to do music there. And now I've just come to terms that it's what it is. You love your home, but you know I consider this my home as well as Greece. Sort of thing. Yeah. If the Earth was invaded by aliens, I would try and defend both the UK and Greece at the same time. Let's just put it that way.
We need more of George on this planet.
I just clone myself, you know.
Yeah.
So then you came over to Leeds, and what was this guitar competition that you did? This was something that you quite. Do you know what I'm talking about?
That was a guitar. Oh yeah, it was. It actually started when it started. It was quite big. It's called Guitar Idol, and they did it over at where is it? What's is it the Excel at the Docklands? You know?
Yeah.
So it was like I think it was about 4,000 or 5,000 applicants, and then they chose 12, and we played, and I think Steve Vai and Steve Smith played after, and so I was at the top 12, so I went, and I was living in Leeds obviously at the time because I was on my second year in uni. So then I came to London for a couple of days, did that. I played like crap on the day because I was. And that's why I recommend to my students that, you know, you should just get out there, play with people almost from the start, because I used to be a bedroom, you know, in my bedroom I was fucking great, but I'd rarely play live. And just getting out there, and there was, you know, it wasn't like, you know, it was a considerable amount of people there. And I just remember playing like crap and being like really disappointed with myself. But I also played the second day on a smaller stand. And that's when the guys from Little Library saw me, and they were, and that's when I did like my first DVD, which is just talks about. I have a sort of particular approach to playing lines. So
Guitar Idol, what was that? What was the kind of? Did you get kind of to the finals of that?
Yeah, I was in the top 12, so I went there, and then but you know, you got to meet really nice people, and the Little Library thing came out of it, which was great because in a way I sort of had a DVD that. It's almost like a copyright of my style, I suppose.
And it is a unique style. Like I've watched some of the stuff of you playing, and it's like this is one of the things I wanted to ask you. Like, where's this crazy accurate synchronization between the left and the right hand come, and where does the ideas for these kind of massive, wide-ranging? Have you got one called Lick of Doom or something like that?
Oh, maybe. It's like, oh shit, yeah, probably something like that. Yeah, on my YouTube.
So what? When did you start playing, for instance? Like, how does this crazy synchronization between the two hands happen? Because, like, I could do a bit of alternate picking, and I spent quite a bit of time on it, but nothing like what's going on.
Well, I suppose. I started when I was about 16, I think. So I started. It was about a year before I went to college. So I think technique is because I was just basically obsessed with it. So you know, that's why. I mean, I come from a really small place, but I didn't even know all the bars in my city, and there were like 7 of them because I just wouldn't go out, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that the thing with picking is I'm getting a bit geeky here.
That's all right. This could be a really geeky one. It's fine.
It's just
Dom falls asleep on most of them anyway. So
He's still awake.
But I think it's almost like imagine like I suppose because it's very percussive way of playing. You know, it's like
yes, it is.
it's not smoothing. It's just a very percussive way of playing. Is I suppose the same if you were trying to play percussive lines on the bass, or if you were trying to do really staccato sort of lines on your kit. Yeah, so
it's something very staccato. That's what I do get from it. Yeah.
Like so it's kind of like just the process of really starting with the metronome ridiculously slow and being like very comfortable. And for me, comfort means like, you know, you are able to deliver and your body and everything in your mind are just completely free, you know. So it's just, and with alternate picking, I think it's just important. And this is something I get from drummers. So I'll geek out and put drummers videos on YouTube, like I don't know, like Thomas Bridger, or I mean Vinny is my favorite drummer of all time.
Vinny
Colaiuta. And you know, they have a lot of great percussive lines. So you could like start playing a groove, like if you, I mean, just give me like maybe a chord. We can do a little groove now, and I'll tell you what, maybe something over just this like funky groove or whatever, like that tempo.
What sort of chord do you want?
A G Dorian vibe, like.
Yeah, okay. Go on,
So yeah, so you have a groove like that, and you'll just hum some rhythm lines. So it'll be and you try to limit yourself to the scale, and you just do that. So you know, you sort of develop like a different vocabulary than just doing like straight 16 notes or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and you can do other stuff like you know, whatever. Thanks. So yeah, I mean that's the kind of vibe. So I think that's a lot. It's got a lot to do with the way I sort of play, because I think if you go if a solo, and like you rarely listen to a drum solo and the drummer is just going to do straight 16th notes, you know, it's much more imaginative than that. Or and sometimes if you're a guitar player, you can fall on that kind of thing, because guitar is such a, you know, it's an instrument that is so great for patterns. That's why I always had that in leads. You know, I'd meet with saxophone players, and they'd be like, "Oh, how do you do those patterns?" And I'd be like, "Oh, how do you do those known patterns?" Because, you know, they don't think. I mean, they do patterns sometimes, but for guitar, it's just such a natural thing to do.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. I mean, that's a great tip. I say to everyone, you know, just like stick a track and just try and think rhythm patterns that are a bit out of the box, and just stick with them. Yeah. I think it's very important to practice one thing for a long time.
Yeah.
Do you vocalize at all when you play?
No.
Or when you practice?
Like
you were doing it just then to demonstrate the rhythms, but
yeah. I thought you meant like George Benson got away.
No,
like, no, I couldn't do that.
No. Well, I mean,
yeah. I mean, no. I mean, just you could even clap the rhythm. You know, whatever, as long as it comes from you. Sort of, you can even clap a rhythm or whatever. So that's a great way. And
are you working mostly with vamps then? Is that kind of more kind of your style? Because that's one of the things where I think we probably diverged as well, is where I tend to end up playing a lot of stuff where songs where the guitar is maybe not even the main instrument sort of thing, and you're playing with a singer, so I'll do more kind of chord work, and the solos that I do will be probably more bluesy and stuff, but you follow in maybe the chord progression, but you tend to just like talk about modes and scales and stuff quite a lot, whereas I think less and less like modes and scales these days than I ever did before.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily. I think nowadays I think more of sounds, because I'm at a point where I can, But I think if you talk to somebody and trying to teach them, I think going the road of modes is just a great way for them to internalize the sound of every mode. Because you can have a chord, you can have a G chord.
It's like saying the sound of chord, like the sound of a Dorian is like saying learn the sound of chord 2, isn't it? Sort of almost.
Yeah, it's like, so you basically internalize the sound of the scale starting from the major scale starting from the second degree. So if you're in the key of C major, you start from D, and that's it. And because there's, you know, I mean, and I get what you're saying, because I mean the thing is, and Kody, like my solo project, I'm the lead singer, and I'm also I mean, I do the solos, but I also do a lot of rhythm guitar. So I love playing rhythm guitar.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I haven't done it a lot now, but like I think, and I think it's very, very important because you'll end up playing. You'll play more rhythm guitar than you'll do solos. So it's important to get it. But what I'm saying about the sounds is I'm just thinking it more about the sounds, because you could have a chord, you can have a G major chord, and you could play different scales over it. You could do. In Greece, that's probably do something like that.
What was that last one that you did there?
Just dominant Phrygian. So or Lydian flat 7 or whatever. So I think of it more like sounds. How do you manipulate the sound? But if I'm teaching, I just think, it's just a very nice, straightforward way to present it. Because you're right. In the end of the day, it's the same scale recycled. So it's all. So that's But I mean, if I play with a singer or if I sing in the band, I'll play mostly rhythm. Some of my songs, I'm doing a new record now that don't even have solos, believe it or not. So it's just it's just.
Have you done that on purpose then? Is that something where you've kind of gone, I want to try something where I don't even, because like, do you feel like maybe the solos or soloing and the lead parts almost become a crutch, or that you're trying to crowbar it in, so you've made the decision to kind of get it out, or is it just something that happened?
I did the first EP, Letting Go, was my first sort of solo EP. I had an instrumental record when I was 18, but that was like just instrumental music, and I think I tried to sort of follow a more songwritery rock approach. Yeah. But the new stuff, I kind of regret. I don't think you should write thinking, I'll do this. You should just go with the flow. So the new stuff have a lot of guitar. They're like songs, a lot of production, a lot of BVs, a lot of hooks, but a lot of guitar. So guitar fans are gonna love it as well as like people that like songs, because it's a blend of Radiohead, Porcupine Tree, Foo Fighters. It's quite demanding. Hopefully we'll get to do some.
Is it when's that coming out? Got a release date?
It's been mixed now, and I'll approach people in management and labels. I try to do the lonely cowboy thing in the world of the music industry with my first EP, and I got some good stuff. Got to play Time Out and Q and all that. But it's too much stuff to micromanage. If you
can get somebody on board with it. Where can we find the Kody stuff?
If you go to my website, which is kodyofficial.com. That's KODYofficial.com, and all the links are there. Or you can, if you like to see pictures of my cooking, you can go to Instagram.
Are you a Instagram foodie? You're a bit of a foodie, aren't you, Dom?
But I don't tend to promote that.
No.
I don't just. I have the occasional food picture. I have other pictures as well. I have some.
Are you saying food or foot?
Food.
All right, just
checking.
No.
So you're a foot guy then, right?
Nah, I don't have a Hobbit fetish or something. But Kody Official Gram is my Instagram, or you can just type Kody. You'll see me in it. And
I'll put the links in the description.
Yeah, that's fine. So, what was I saying? My train of thought is running around today.
Yeah. So you were talking about like the new album stuff. How did the Kody thing kind of come about? Because that wasn't something that you were always doing. What was the kind of start and thought process of that?
I think it started when I left Leeds, because I was in a band at the time, and it's just the thing I said about control. I think I just find really hard. I like things my way, but I have to say, if someone comes up with something better, I'll admit it,
For sure, yeah.
So if you buy my EP or check it out on YouTube, Letting Go, it's a very straightforward like rock song, but the drum beat is it's got a cowbell and stuff, and Francesco did an amazing beat. So that was nothing like what I presented, but when I heard it, I was like, okay, that's more imaginative. It works better than what I did. So in that sense, I think it's what's best for the song. But I like the solitude of just coming up with everything and micromanaging. It's harder in some ways, easier in some other ways. I think it's just whatever works for everybody. Some people prefer bands. If that's your thing, that's fine.
It's interesting because I've always kind of tried to or set off with the idea of doing that, and I get bogged down in doing it, and I always thought that I would be that sort of person who was more a do it yourself sort of thing. But what I'm starting to find now is me and Tim are going to start. We're starting to do some writing.
Awesome. What kind of vibe is it?
This is going to be like a trio with. I don't even know. And this is what I'm saying. Like with and another thing I started with Ollie and Mr. Alex Lanyon and Tim Jacobs. Where that's just to basically get in the room and just everybody just do something and see what works and make everything a song. And then there's a couple of other little projects like that. We're going to do something with Annie Ish, who's been on the podcast before as well. And I'm actually at the point now where I'm like, do you know what? I'd rather just everybody just can throw ideas in, and let's say within a certain time period we're going to have a song, see where it comes out, and then move on and actually get something recorded, because I think that's the only way I'm going to ever get any projects finished. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and
so I have to take the opposite.
If it works
thing.
for you, for you, that's great. I mean, there's no right way of doing it. It's just whatever works for everybody, you know.
Well, I know that obviously you're a big fan of Joe Rogan.
Yes.
Yes.
We were talking about it before.
Yes.
George's as well. Yeah.
Cool, man. And I read War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. That
it's fantastic.
He bangs on about every podcast I've listened to. He's like, read that. You read that.
Yeah.
And the main thing in that is just do the work. Like when you're saying, you know, like when you said sometimes you don't sit down and think, right, I'm going to write a rock song and it's going to sound like this album and this album. If you put them together, you just kind of do it.
But there's also a tendency to overcomplicate. That's where I get stuck on doing it the solo on my own, because I go, so how am I going to present this? And it's got to fit. And then I'm thinking it's got to fit in a certain genre that I've created that this project's going to fit in. And then it's like, but how am I going to record it? And I get so many throw so many obstacles in the way, which I know is the Stephen Pressfield thing about your ego doing it, that in the end it kind of makes me kind of not, it immobilizes me and stops me from even starting it. Whereas the idea of just getting in a room with people and saying, right, that's going to be a song. For me, that's why that's working better for me, because it's like I don't even have to think about it. We're going to write a song. That's it. That's where it starts and ends.
We're going to do it, man.
Yeah.
I think in some ways, I get what you're saying about the style. I think that might be sometimes the obstacle when I've found if you try to involve a lot of people, because you have, you know, everyone has their own ideas of how you should sound, and there might be the case where they just strip back of any predetermined sort of position, and they just like, okay, whatever sound we get, that's, you know, it'll naturally happen. But it might be in the situation where you'd be like, okay, I want this thing, but the other person will be, oh, that's too rocky or it's too indie or whatever. So in that sense, that's why I think, like, you know.
Yeah, but that's in that sense, I think what the thing is, and I'm not saying either one's right or wrong, because as you say, it's what's right for you and what makes sense for you. And that's always been my problem with it as well, because like you feel like you're herding cats, and you know, it's like trying to get everybody in the same room at the same time and all that. But where I've gone with that now is that if I totally let go of control, of trying to control it, whatever it is, and just like wait to having the right personnel, massive thing. Like my friend Anna's on about recording an EP, and we're on about just getting a room somewhere and just a bunch of people that we know are the right people, and we're going to say in 2 days we're going to have an EP. And that it all relies on having the right people, because everybody's done it where you've got a song and you send it to somebody and you go, what do you think about this? And they come back. You just want to hear whether they think it's good or not. That's all you really want to hear, like a lot of times. And they'll go, I think you should change this. I think you should do that. And I think you should do that. You present it to somebody and they start muddying the water, and then it becomes a thing where you have to kind of undo all of the stuff that you've done.
Yeah, I think that could happen in either case, because like you could either be a band or be like a solo artist, and then it could be different people who do that. So you can be either other people that listen to it or a record label, because you could be a band or a solo artist, and then you give it to a label and like, oh, we kind of want this or that. Or I think you're right. You need, in some way, the fact you get more reflection with a collective that has an equal say, because they'll take everything in the sort of the same amount, and they'll be like, okay, I don't think that works, or maybe this works. But I think that's why sort of I have certain people that I really trust. And I'll just play them something and say, what do you think?
That's right. And it's all about the right personnel. That's what, like, even whether you're doing it your way, where you're doing kind of taking the most control in it, but you still have to kind of step outside your own mind and present it to somebody. Yeah. Just so you kind of think, oh, am I going crazy? Is this just absolute nonsense that I've just come up with? Like when I've done stuff, that's why I've had to give it to other people. Like, just tell me that that's not crazy. Or tell me that it is crazy if I want it to be crazy. You know?
Yeah, oh no, crazy is good.
But you have to have the right people that you trust for it, for sure.
Do you keep, when you write stuff, do you keep that kind of thing close to you until it's ready to go out, or do you show people bits of it? Or
no, I mean, I show Francesco, who's the drummer, because
You show Francesca your bits.
Sure, my bits.
I mean, like the general, not like the other musicians and stuff, but I mean the general public, or even like family and friends and stuff. Do you?
I share with some people whose opinion I value, and obviously the people that we play live with. You know, I'll say, what do you think of this? And I was sometimes I'll get overexcited, and I've made them learn like 5-6 songs and that are not easy to play, and then in the end I'm like, oh, we're not playing them now. That's it. And just they're great like that, you know, because in the end of the day, you know, I'm a solo artist who's still kind of developing, and you know, it's not like someone's thrown a lot of money at me, and they are very happy to be part of it. And I'm trying to make it as easy as possible, but they do it out there because they're passionate in my vision. So I'm very thankful for that. You know,
it's very hard to organise that sort of stuff when you've got no budget and or limited budget and everybody's busy. Because also the thing is, if people are good players, they tend to be busy and playing. So it must be sometimes.
You're right, Francesco. Well, the thing is, Francesco's very busy, but he's a teacher.
Right. Okay.
So he teaches music. Is very passionate. So it's a bit more like. I mean, he does the occasional sort of session gig, but it's
well, that's perfect then, isn't it? Because that's kind of, I suppose it's. I'm losing my words today, my vocabulary. I almost couldn't say that. It's very rigid, so it's always the same. It's kind of
so it's fairly sort of easy to sort of schedule stuff.
Whereas if it's somebody who is a player, you're all right, man.
Let's do.
If it's somebody who is a player playing out. A player. If it's somebody who's kind of a session guy and he's out playing, and they're out playing all the time, they could get something in that's kind of rent paying. Like I always call them rent payers, ones that come in at like 400, 500, 600 quid or whatever the fuck it is, and you get last minute, and then you're like, I've got this artist gig that it's kind of, I don't know, whatever the budget is for it, but it's definitely not going to be that, and then you have the kind of dilemma, don't you? I keep dropping these
Big dropped. Best thing after mic drop. No, I think you're right, but I mean, I'm also understanding, you know, obviously, because I'm not gonna, you know, throw a hissy fit on someone if they choose to get, you know. That's why I always try and get like, I don't gig a lot at the moment because I can't book the good gigs. Like we played Hard Rock a couple of weeks ago, which was good because it was a paying gig and there was people around. So this is a gig that people find worth doing, you know. Obviously I wouldn't want to, if I can't pay them in every rehearsal or every gig, I'm not going to book like 15 gigs in a row in pubs and stuff like that, because I'm aware that, you know,
so remember that when that was the thing of being in a band, it's like, let's book loads of gigs. And like, do you know what, I think there's a way forward for people to do this, and you just have to have an audience, and this is hopefully, you know, one day this might get, this podcast, the idea is that it would hopefully grow, or if you are watching it in the future and it has grown, great. If it hasn't, oh well.
So you should share it. Share the podcast.
Yeah, share the podcast.
Like
if you like
page.
it, share it.
Share.
But the idea is that, so somebody coming on like yourself, I think the future is that stuff like this, where artists have their own way of connecting with their fans, and then like how the American comedians do it, like your Joe Rogans and your Bill Burrs and all those sorts of people, and then you sell directly. Because anybody, you can get your own song on iTunes without a record label, and Spotify. That's well easy to do. And then you kind of say, right, I've got the EP coming out. We're going to do a couple of gigs in some big cities, 3 or 4 big cities, and you had enough viewers on a thing like this. You go and do that, and then you go and write something else, or you might even have fans in a different country. I think that's possibly. As a possible future for the way that the music industry works on our level.
Oh, it's definitely.
And it would bring more income into it for people like yourself at our kind of level, because there's obviously the kind of pop star kind of launch, or like Swift, new pop stars like Lana Del Rey when she first came out, as a kind of, even though she'd already had a career.
But there's still probably, I mean, by the end of the first tour, I mean, if they've gone for like a bad 360 deal, they probably end up owing money. You know?
Exactly.
That's why
I don't think it even needs to be like that now. So if you've got the captive audience, you say, right, we're doing a show in 3 weeks in Camden or something like that. Tickets are 10 quid. If you really like stuff, come down and buy an album. You can do it without owing anybody money. I think that there's a possible future.
I mean, people. I know you probably know this. You know, Hannah Tringwell. She's from Leeds. You know, she started by doing like a very. She's very proactive on YouTube, doing her own. I mean, she's predominantly known for her rendition of covers, which is really. She's a great singer. But she started on YouTube, and I don't think she's signed. She's got management now, but she goes and plays all around the world because people know her from YouTube. I think that the problem with music, unfortunately, and what it's come down to is that people do not attach value to music because, let's face it, I mean, obviously music is art, but for us musicians, it's a product. Just put imagine that you could get a Frappuccino for free or for 0.0009 pence, and you had a custom, I mean, this could be a bad example, but anyways, you had a custom small Frappuccino company that was like, I'm selling my Frappuccinos for like an X amount. I mean, if you can get something for free, if you can get something illegal, if you don't realize the value attached to making this thing, you don't add value to it. So this is a big problem because you have the people that buy records. I mean, I'm ashamed to say I used to download stuff, but buy everything now and try to get, especially in gigs when I see an indie acts, I'll just get their CDs.
I was trying to get the record if I can.
Oh, the LP.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah, exactly. But they say apparently there's been an increase in that market because it's
hard selling CDs, isn't it?
That's great. That's great.
Well, that's something that I read. It could have been.
I was having a discussion about that with a friend. He's in a band, Originals band, and they're brilliant. And he was saying that in Britain, when you play versus playing in Europe, it's completely different for that kind of level of band where they're not super famous, but they've got a kind of a bit of a following. They'll do a gig in London or in the UK and nobody will buy anything. In fact, he said the other day, a guy walked up to him, picked up the record and was like, "Is this on Spotify?" And they went, "Yeah." And he went, "Put it back," and walked off.
Yeah.
But this
just buy the record.
But this is the thing. It's such a ridiculous business model that at the kind of level that most people are operating at as artists, that I think there is something in the idea of, like, if you compare that model there to something where you've got like these American comedians, and I know that they're big stars and everything, but they weren't at one point, and they, their money's in the live show, and they're doing a lot of live shows, but then they'll sell a special to Netflix or whatever and all that sort of thing. But the great thing about, I think, musicians is there's lots of ways that you can deliver. Like, a comedian can't sell DVDs at their show. Do you know? But if you can sell LPs, or you can find, I suppose, interesting
cool
ways,
T-shirts,
and you just take I'm seeing merch. If you can get away out of this, and I don't really know that much about it, but I'm just kind of thinking down the line as a better idea of a business model than a 360 deal or something like that. If you could build your own audience and do it without a record label, and I'm sure the bands that have, you could make a lot more. Well, you make 100% of your stuff back rather than.
The other half of the the other half of the discussion was about the fact that when they go to Europe, they clean up.
Of course,
The atmosphere and the gigs are better. People are there because they love the music, even if they've never heard before. They're loving it, and they buy the merch. They buy the T-shirt. They buy the records. They buy whatever else they're selling.
I noticed this when I come to London because it's the first time I spent a lot of time around European people. I've lived with a lot of Spanish people and French people. Italians as well, never any Greeks. But I think and you might be able to shed some light on this, but there's a total, particularly I noticed with the Spanish people that I spent a lot of time was in like a Spanish football team and Spanish housemates and stuff. They have literally no cynicism. Now, in some ways, that's amazing. That is amazing. Like, if you compare it to an English person, like, that's a great example at a gig. They'll go, "Yeah, we love this, let's buy it." And they're kind of ready to party at a moment's notice, sort of thing. We're going to have, whereas British kind of stereotypical thing, but it's also true, is where I'm going to have to get up tomorrow and then I have to clean up and all that. So they're kind of less willing to get there, sort of thing. But on the other side of that, there's British bands, I think, tend to be cooler, maybe because of that cynicism. Like, I haven't heard that much Spanish indie music, but I'm guessing that I'm not going to be as into it as something like Alt J. And maybe I'm generalising a bit, but I think there's a balance that, like, with the British music, it's that cynicism helps create a kind of cooler product, but it doesn't help at gigs because that's why I'd imagine that. Does that ring a bell with anything?
I think the issue with London, I mean, if you're talking about London in general, is it's just a byproduct of a huge city like this. If it'll take someone an hour to get to a gig, and then they know they have a family at home. And it's not a gig like an iconic band that they loved since they were 14. If it's like an unsigned band, you have to think, in an area like Camden, there's probably about 20 originals gig happening at the same time. It's a bit like I'm taking it a bit more political now, but it's a bit like the Edward Snowden argument with collecting everyone's information to gather intelligence for terrorism. Let's say you have such a sea of information that it's really hard to cut through, and it's the same thing with music. So I'll tell you from my experience. Because I've been to a few gigs in Greece. Yeah, you get to, we look at British bands, and we look. There is a tendency in Europe and also places like in Asia, like Korea or Japan, it's like this big Western philia. So if a British band, like I'm trying to remember, there's this name of, it's a band from Manchester. They're fairly big here, but in Greece, they're huge. They substituted Muse in Greece. Muse cancelled Vega, and they had 35,000 people because we attach a lot of value to the British heritage in popular culture. And it's the same with. You go to Japan or Korea or something. Bands sell records. I was talking to a publisher. He said, in Korea there's bands that sell 10, 15 million CDs.
That's crazy.
Which is why there's a lot of songwriters aim for the K-pop, J-pop audience because they buy records because they attach value to it. And there, in Greece, if in my town there's been a few British bands when I was little, and it was like unknown bands. Probably you wouldn't know them here, but they'd come to the bar. We'd just rush and go see them. But I can imagine a place like Athens where you have more stuff going on. It's probably. It's probably not as easy for sure. Which is why people tend to advise me. They say you should go and play like small towns, and this is where having a band in a way.
But in the UK,
just general in the UK.
But the problem with it in the UK, because I've done a lot of that and the toilet tours and all that sort of stuff, and it can be great, but there's also a thing where I've played loads of gigs, for instance, in Yorkshire in the north. And you're playing, and the audience is stood there like this. And you think, bloody hell. And then at the end, they come up to you and say, that's the best gig I've ever been to. You're like, fucking hell, mate.
Yeah, you can get...
You're going to buy a CD? Ooh, how much is it? £3? Nah, mate. It's crazy. That's an attitude.
But it would be interesting to see if that happened 25 years ago when buying CDs was the norm to accessing music. Because that's the thing now. And it's an education. People don't associate... for my first EP, I spent... I don't want to say how much, but plenty of money for my level anyways. People don't know that. It's almost like they see a burger and they think it doesn't involve killing anyone. They think that you plug it in, you play it. Not all of them, but it's just that it's. I think it's an educational thing. It's also a way that the way that we access music has changed. You can go on YouTube, browse any record, no problem.
There's the old joke, isn't it? It's kind of, I don't know. There's so many thousand or 100,000s of pounds of gear and a 20,000 pound compressor, and then and all this money, and then listened through kind of £5 earphones on a compressed MP3. And it's what was the point of? But do you know what? In some ways, and I'm quite a subscriber to the punk kind of DIY ethos, which is where I'm coming from with this kind of how I'm starting to approach writing more. There has been maybe a kind of over-the-top quality of the product. Kind of people think that the product needs to be this super high-quality radio-ready thing, and maybe we've forgotten that it actually probably doesn't. Like something that's a guy. I was listening to somebody talk about a guy who was recording a funk band, like an old kind of 70s funk band, and he literally just threw some SM58s or 57s up in a room and mic'd everything up with that. Did it all in one. Got all the band in and the singers. Didn't worry about monitor bleed or anything like that. Just recorded it, mixed it, EQ'd it, put it out, and it sounded fantastic.
Was it like a live recording scenario?
But it was a studio album. But obviously
the band played
exactly.
Together. Yeah, but I think that's I think it would work, because what's that miking technique called? Where it's that kind of really, it's really expensive mic now. Where they put it on the center and people play
it's like
around.
a 360 mic.
I've seen there's a John Caniberti, American producer. He does it a lot. I think it works for some situations, but let's say, if you're in a band that has a lot of soundscapes, a band like Pink Floyd, and I keep talking about Dream Theater, but let's say Dream Theater, just purely for being able to enjoy the experience, you kind of have to achieve a level of clarity amongst instruments. But I mean, I agree with you, because I think, you could probably, if the attitude is there and someone picks it up, they could probably.
I mean, I'm not talking about stuff that sounds like it's kind of, streamed at kind of 96 kb or something like, you got kind of the sound of the sea in the background or something, that weird kind of MP3 sound. But I'm just talking about like kind of people going way over the top with stuff like loudness and all that sort of like. I mean, maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think you're
I
on
think
point.
there's a
Like, I
kind
think
of
certain styles sounds much better raw. Like if
of course,
like something like a funk, but you almost want to feel the room.
Yeah. But I'd almost like rather like a band or an artist chuck out. Well, I suppose this is the thing that you'd have to decide between. Do you want to chuck out, and I think EPs rather than albums is totally a better idea for all round nowadays, unless you actually are going to write an album, like not 12 songs an album, but. I'd rather somebody chucked out 2 EPs a year or 3 EPs a year, and the quality wasn't necessarily like something of a major release Taylor Swift kind of a level of quality, but it's good enough to listen to, and chuck out good songs and a great vibe. I'd rather that than.
Oh yeah, yeah. Definitely.
That's where my head's at a little bit with it at the moment.
Yeah, but I think just from talking about people, either from people managers or people touring, and I think that the way that instrumentalists do it, like for like guitar players, drummers, bass players, keyboard players, which is why I always advise people, if you start an instrument and you're really invested in the instrument, just really go the extra hour in the room and stuff. It's because most, like for example, Doug Aldrich, he plays with John Lee Turner, played with Whitesnake. He makes most of his living now from the gigs. What he'll do is he'll go on tour with Joe Lee Turner, but the day before the tour, he'll do a masterclass at, let's say, BIM or ICMP. Yeah. And, a person like that, I mean, there's and obviously the pie is getting smaller, but still, like someone of that range, or even people like Paul Gilbert and Satriani, or I'm sure people like Thomas Bridger or Vinny or, Victor Wooden, they can clear $4 or $5 grand in 2 hours.
Yeah.
And this is something that I've done as well. I don't get, that's not my fee, but it's
double.
And it's such a great way. Like I've done a bunch of boot camps. There was this place called Guitar Getaways in Cornwall, and it was taught by Guthrie used to do some classes there, Dave Kilmister and stuff, and I took over that. And it's just such a nice way. Because it's still very personal, because you deal with people that are very invested in what you have to say, and what you do. So I would give that, if, like for example, if I were to go on a Kody tour and I needed to scrub up some more money, I'd probably try and do that. But obviously, you need to have it's something that you need to put thought into. What do I have to say that's different from someone else? How can I convey it to a group of people? And this is just a great. I mean, this is what most people do. That they'll go. They'll do like they'll go on a 6-month tour. Let's say they'll book 30 clinics in it. Like people like Guthrie. I mean, Guthrie plays with Steven Wilson, Hans Zimmer, and he makes a killing with that.
Yeah.
But also
the thing is, though, you've got to be an uber technical player like Guthrie, I think, or someone of that ilk to be able to pull that off. Because and it's for a very select audience in terms of. Like I've been a guitar player growing up, and even if my favorite guitar player growing up was Slash, if he said he did a clinic in Rotherham, I might not go because I don't want to hear that instrument on its own. And
you probably just go to meet him, I suppose. Than just
maybe. I don't know. I'm not massively into meeting heroes and stuff, but I'm not massively into the idea of. That, and that's just me. It's like people who are really, and that's where I think that's one of the differences between us as well. Like you're kind of like an guitar addict, where I'm like, some days I can take it or leave it sort of thing.
I was an addict. I don't consider. I mean, I've used guitar to write songs mostly for the last two and a half years. I just really enjoy tuition as well. So in a way, you kind of, it's just one thing that comes with it. But if you work with people, a lot of what you get asked to do is that kind of extravagant stuff, or the intervallic lines, like we said, those extended lines I like to do. But I think you have people that are like Guthrie that are incredibly technical, that they have a huge audience. But then you have people that someone like, let's say John Scofield, for example, who's like an incredible jazz fusion player. And people will go and see him just because of his personality and his knowledge, So I think it's all that boils down to if there's it's almost like the product that your personality and your playing is, and if there's an audience for that, I think, you know, I mean, I know what was one guitar player of like this punk band that was it Sum 41, and he does clinics as
not the guy who married Avril Lavigne.
no, it's the other you know, and he's not like, but you know, people like to see how you can play.
Yeah.
With his attitude, and you know, it's just so I think, but I think. But you have a point. I mean, people like to see fingers flying and stuff. But they also, you know, if you have like someone like John Scofield, the knowledge that you can get, and just the feel from it.
And I suppose
you know?
even like a band who kind of written the songs and are just more like song based, like I don't know, maybe an indie band or a pop band sort of thing. I suppose there would be maybe an audience for them, kind of explaining what their process kind of is as well. So I think you're right. I think it's always about finding ways to supplement how you're doing it, how you connect with your audience.
And a lot of times it finds you first, so it might be something you haven't even thought about, and you're like, okay, some YouTube videos getting more hits, or you know, I did this thing and it resonated with people. So sometimes it'll find you, and you just have to see it and just dive into it.
Yeah, man. Dude, do you want to let's play something out. We're going to run out of time in a mix. You've got somewhere to be, and I've got a gig down in...
I've got to go to
Chesham.
Yes, to pick up my stand that I forgot on the tube.
Dude, mic stands are pissing me off, man. I've just spent so much time recently delivering and borrowing mic stands.
Oh, it's my camera stand, which is even worse. I need to film tomorrow, so they said I have to. The stuff were very good. TFL, I have to give you a shout out for this one. You did well, but I have to go there, and so it's like Zone 9. I didn't even.
Zone 9.
Exactly.
Well, it's a Zone 9.
It's a thing.
It's Yorkshire.
It's
Scotland.
I'm going to see like Castle or something. But he said he said there's a lot of wilderness around there. I don't know. He got me scared. I've got my bow with me though, so I'll be fine.
Yeah, if you get kidnapped, it's been lovely knowing you.
Yeah.
And on that note, let's play something. Connor, give us a groove, Tim and Dom.
Okay.
We're putting the pressure on you.
You tell me a key.
Whatever, man. The key of love. Whatever.
The key of love.
The key of love. I think that's B flat, isn't it? B flat minor.
B flat's fine.
D minor, the saddest.
Oh, D minor is the
saddest key. Yeah.
And B flat is the key that just nobody wants to play in for some reason.
So you want B flat then?
Yeah, man. Let's do B flat.
Are we doing B flat minor or major?
Yeah, whatever, man.
Minor. It's happened now. It's there.
It's happened.
Yeah. you so much for coming on the podcast today, man. It's been awesome having you. I'm going to watch this back and just be super scared about what the speed... But I'll zoom in and there'll be flames and smoke coming off the fretboard. Dude, it's amazing.
Awesome.
George, Kody, Marius, everybody. What's your website again? Tell me the website.
www.codyofficial.com, or if you want lessons, londonguitarmastery.co.uk. Thank you.
Kody with a K. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yes, that's
Cool. Thanks very
guys.
much. Cheers.
The Kind of About Music podcast.